Hey there, it's your boy Foxy, back for more relationship stories. Last night I found out about my husband's secret apartment and my friend went to it. Original post. My husband is on a trip with one of our sons and his brother to go visit their mother, my son's grandmother. I was cleaning up the den when an email notification popped up on his iPad. It was an email from an apartment complex that they were going to be temporarily closing down the hot water for repairs, sent from one of those automatic senders that you can't reply to. It was addressed to my husband with his first and last name. The thing is, we own our house. We haven't rented in over 10 years, and even then, it wasn't this place. Where my husband is, upstate New York, there isn't any service. I tried to send him a picture of the email, but it won't go through. I called him and spoke to him for a bit. Service was choppy, but I managed to explain to him about the email, and basically all he said is that it must be a mistake, and they had the wrong email. We weren't able to say much before the call just dropped, but if it was a wrong email, how would they have his first and last name all spelled correctly? For context, his first name is somewhat common, but our last name is not common, especially in this area. There weren't any other emails from this sender or about this apartment complex in my husband's emails, but he is also the kind who clears out his inbox as he gets messages. I sent a message to the apartment complex telling them that I think my husband was on their email list by mistake, but I just got an automatic email sent back that they were out of the office until November 20th, and then general rent information pricing. 1 bedroom, $1,600, 2 bedroom, $1,900, and that there were no open units available. There was no unit number on the email, but the complex is about 15 minutes away from our house, so I went and I drove by, which I guess might be a little crazy, I know. I didn't see anything, not like I knew what to expect. It's a group of buildings, less than 100 apartments in all. I don't have any reason to mistrust my husband, other than this weird email that gives me a strange feeling in the pit of my stomach, as well as a general feeling of paranoia that he's just been bored with me. I've been feeling this way for a little while, but he insists I'm imagining it and that he's happy. I only brought it up to him once, when I was feeling particularly insecure last year. We still do things together, he still tells me he loves me, etc. I just feel like he doesn't have as much fun with me as he used to, and like he looks for reasons to be out of the house or doing things specifically with the boys, instead of doing things with the whole family. It's not like it's something that bothers me every day, just something that I think about when I'm feeling insecure or paranoid, like in a situation like this where he gets an email from random apartment complex's law. Anyway, I don't know exactly what advice I'm looking for. I know the advice I would have for one of my friends would be to just talk to him, but I really can't do that until he comes home on Saturday, which is a really long time for me to sit with my intrusive thoughts. Now for the top advice before reading the update. Take the iPad to the apartment complex and see if it automatically connects to Wi-Fi. Then have your friend go knock on the door and ask for your husband, see who answers. You could Google his name and address. It's possible the address can show up and could show you who else is living there and possibly having mail sent. Also, with the email, perhaps check the archived. Also on the iPad, if you go to Privacy, Location Services, System Services, Significant Locations, all locations visited on devices connected to the same iCloud account will show up there, and you can see if this is a location that gets frequented. I was initially going to say it could be spam. I get those all the time and they sometimes include my first and last name. But the fact that the apartment exists and is only 15 minutes away makes it more real in my opinion. Has he ever gone for short or long periods of time? He does go on work trips occasionally, and he works long hours sometimes, but nothing that raised any red flags. Check his credit card or debit records from the dates of those work trips. Your friend got the apartment number. Go knock on the door. You know the only reason to have a secret apartment is a secret partner. Not the only reason. I had a friend who was preparing to tell his wife he wanted a divorce, but before he did, made sure he had an apartment to move into after the separation. The husband could be preparing to leave the marriage in secret and is just anticipating not having somewhere to live once she is served. That is true, though the problem remains that she's about to be blindsided with the end of, or a big blow to, her marriage. Now for the first update. I'm currently writing this on the ride upstate. Yesterday I posted about an email I had gotten on my husband's email from an apartment complex talking about fixing the water. My husband, who is upstate visiting his mother until Saturday, has next to no cell service, so I haven't been able to talk to him about any of this, other than saying that the email must have been a mix-up. My friend called and got his apartment number from the maintenance man. Both of us went over to the apartment and my friend knocked. A girl answered but didn't answer the door, just the bell camera. My friend said she was there looking for Adam. The girl said that Adam wasn't there, but wouldn't give her more information than that, which I get. My friend was just a total stranger at her door. When we left, I could see her looking out the apartment window at us. I tried to call my husband 1,000 times yesterday, and nothing went through. The few times the call did pick up, the service was so bad you could barely hear anything, so I'm headed upstate to confront him in person. I have a copy of the email, as well as a photo of the apartment, as well as a recording of the girl saying that Adam wasn't there, which is a confirmation to me that she knows him. If this is somehow all a big misunderstanding, I'm going to have my husband explain it to me in person instead of waiting until he comes home. I haven't gotten a chance to read all the comments, but I will go through them now and try to respond to what I can. I haven't slept, so I hope this makes sense. Edit. To everyone telling me that I should just wait, not confront him, talk to her first. He's my husband, he's the father of my children. If I'm going to find out that he's cheating on me, it is going to be from him. I'm going to say this for the last time. Please stop advising me not to go talk to my husband about this very serious situation that we are in. I will go talk to a lawyer if need be. However, we have been married for over a decade. We have a family and a life together. I am going to go talk to him. I understand what the situation probably is, and I understand that he's probably going to try to lie to me. I'm not a moron. Expect the worst, hope for the best. If cell service is so shoddy, wouldn't his mom have a landline to call? How do you communicate with his mom otherwise? Lol, really should have asked the girl if she knew Adam is married. We discussed doing this, but I would rather confront my husband than this woman. Just be prepared for him to lie through his teeth. Caught my ex-fiancée cheating, and she did her best to gaslight me till I told her I had all her Discord messages on her tablet that I had just finished fixing. Good luck to both of you. My advice is to let him think you know everything. Maybe mention something like, "Friend over there had a lovely chat with the young lady in the apartment. So how long have you known her?" Yes, letting them think you know everything works. Years ago, I was cheated on by my son's father. We were supposed to go out that day, but I had to cancel. But I called him anyway when I was free to talk and heard another girl in the background, whose voice I recognized as a mutual acquaintance. She messaged me later out of the blue, saying only nothing happened, so naturally I knew something had happened. I told her I already knew everything, and she immediately gushed out an apology and spilled every last bean. Threw him under the bus entirely, said he pressured her, and frankly, I believe her. When I told him I knew everything, he also ratted on himself with information he didn't know I didn't have. To add insult to injury, he had just borrowed money from me. It was to buy a new vibrator for her. Tell them you know, and they will tell on themselves. You can assume the girl is now trying to contact Adam to say some strangers were asking about him. Also, if she was using a doorbell to communicate with OP and her friend, there's a high probability he has access to the footage since those doorbells usually come with a camera. So, he may have a lot of preparation already done to possibly create a story and deny the truth. He probably called her after his wife called him, to tell her that if someone shows up, not to answer the door. I'm sure he made up some story to the paramour. They always do. That is of course only if she doesn't know about the wife. Now for the last update. I'm writing this from a hotel room. I went to confront my husband. He knew the minute my car pulled up what was going on. He came outside to meet me, and the first thing he said was, "Did you go to the apartment?" And I told him yeah. So then he said, "So I guess we have to have a talk," and again I said yeah. I'm not going to get into the exact details of it. It was a long talk, and it involved a lot of emotions. She is his girlfriend. They've been together for 4 months. She is under the impression that we are separated and going through the divorce process. His family wasn't aware of this, and his brother and mother, who were there, were horrified. I'm sorry I don't have more to say. I've already contacted a divorce lawyer, a therapist, and a financial advisor. Thanks to everyone for your support. 4 months and he's already paying for an apartment. Sounds fishy, or he already had the apartment for his past girlfriends. It was absolutely his cheating pad, way before the girlfriend ever came along. In sugar dating, it's pretty common for the allowance and help with rent or bills etc. to start pretty early, sometimes after the second date. If he was her sugar daddy, then OP might have a financial claim to the marital assets he spent supporting the girlfriend. My ex-husband's homewrecker lost interest in him a few months after our divorce. Openly dating him wasn't fun anymore, plus she was juggling a few other guys too, and being full-time with my ex just wasn't working out for her. Long story short, she dumped him. I moved on to date the absolute hottest guys and never looked back. OP, all I can say to you is that there's hope. Let this loser go. You can find much better men. Trust me. Well, he can move into the apartment immediately. Yeah, guess he didn't really lie. They are going through a divorce. Hope he just had to do some detective work to find out about it. I have been checking back throughout the day hoping to see a more positive update, but you really sound like you've got yourself together for now. It's okay to not be okay when you get back home. Absolutely this. I can also understand she may be under shock with how everything played out. Hopefully, she will find herself with some time to decompress and feel her feelings. Sending OP some peace and healing for this whole debacle of a situation. Now for the last story. My 35 male, wife 33 female, is secretly receiving money from her ex who she was never married to. My wife of 3 years, with whom I have a 4-year-old son with, recently fell victim to a phishing attempt. Basically, she got an email that looked like it was from a department of a bank we used, saying there was a strange transaction that she needed to confirm. After she clicked on it, she realized that our iPad was probably hacked. Luckily, while we are both not very tech-savvy, my brother is, so he came over and said that he'd try to clear our devices of any malware and tell us what exactly is going on. After my brother had left, I was alone and decided to start clicking on all of our money apps to make sure nothing nefarious was going on with our accounts. Luckily, there did not seem to be anything missing from our bank accounts. However, I saw that there was a Western Union app installed, and it was installed in a pretty discreet corner of the iPad, like in a square with a few other random apps. I always associated Western Union with international transactions, so at the moment I thought that my wife definitely wasn't doing any of that, so maybe this was some machination of a hacker that my brother didn't catch. I clicked on the app, and everything was logged out. However, when I tried to type in both of our email addresses, the device keychain recognized my wife's email, and I got even more suspicious. I knew that most of her passwords were the same, so I got it right on the second try and I logged in. I was mind-boggled to see the transaction history that included several $1,000s, all of which happened before this whole hacking debacle. It showed that she was getting $2,000 at the beginning and the middle of the month, all from the same sender. I then went to the App Store and saw that under Cash App, it showed that the app had once been downloaded, but had probably recently been deleted. I re-downloaded it and logged in, and saw very clearly that the person sending money to my wife was her ex-boyfriend, and she had sent back notes saying thank you and then his nickname. They dated from when she was 24 to when she was 28. He is 49 years old, and they broke up because he got divorced young and did not want to marry again, and she realized he wasn't changing his mind. They never had any kids or properties together, nor was he cheating on somebody with her or keeping their relationship a secret, so it is honestly beyond me why he would need to have any more contact with her, especially now that he lives in Europe half of the time. I confronted my wife on this, and I told her that I thought that he was out of her life entirely, yet here she was sending messages to him with stars in her eyes, basically massaging his ego. I did not know what was going on. My wife said that she's sorry, and she didn't mean to, but they just kept in contact and became friendly exes. She said you know his type, he can be very charming when he wants to be, and sometimes he says something funny, or is depressed because of his line of business and wants to vent to somebody. She got upset when I told her I didn't accept that answer, because no joke is worth that much money, especially when it's being paid consistently every month. She finally admitted that she had told him that the business I was starting was losing money, and that I was only bringing home $45,000 a year after paying my employees, and that he told her the industry I was in, wholesale goods, was a tough one and too saturated with competition for me to turn a profit for a couple of years, or have any reasonable hope of succeeding. I had started this business 2 years ago after I lost my job, and my wife's graphic design business was also dead in the water. She said she had started venting to him about how we're falling behind on our bills, and he decided to help her out. She even said that he would tell me the same if I asked him. That later turned out to be a lie, and it was soon clear that her ex in no way wanted to contact me in any shape or fashion. This all happened a week ago, and I told her that I would give up my business and try to get another job, starting at the bottom if I had to, for the consistent income. But I did not want her accepting any more money from this guy and trying to pass off part of it as money from her business, which doesn't even have a functioning website anymore, and then her keeping the rest of it Lord knows where. But the more that I am left alone to think, the more that I cannot imagine sleeping in the same bed with my wife anymore. I do not know if I can ever trust her again, because she will not say anything except that she did not sleep with him, and that an ex would just give her money just to be his friend. In addition, I am getting the most dread-filled thoughts about the possibility that my son is not mine. That could explain everything very easily. And while I don't make the money her ex makes, we do have the same hair and eye color. What do I do? My wife keeps pleading with me that she'll stop accepting money and that I needed to trust her again, but I know she will flip out at the thought of a paternity test. I am living in misery. I thought I had a loving marriage to an honest woman. Even though we argued about the fact that she wanted our lifestyle to stay the same while I was building up my business, I thought we were communicating with each other. I also thought that the money she put in our accounts were from her graphic design business finally getting clients, but that was wrong as well. Now for the advice. My first thought was secret child support, after only reading the 4-year-old son married 3 years, and the post title. She either lied to him and said it's his kid, and he doesn't want to be a parent so he agreed to this arrangement, or she's lying to you and saying it's her kid. To me, it's the only logical explanation. To add to the 4-year-old son, married 3 years, OP mentions his wife was 28 when her and the ex broke up. Wife is 33, meaning she was 29, and 1 year out of her old relationship when she had the child. I mean, get a paternity test done. She has shown she is untrustworthy. I agree, and he should get it done sooner rather than later. OP should also make up some other reason for the mouth swab, since I feel like 4 is old enough to remember it, if he tells the child what the mouth swab is for, which could really affect the child in the future. I say this from experience, though I was quite a bit older. Her reasons for him sending money are absolute BS. Who in their right mind would do that? So, are you thinking this money may be covert child support? I think this is the only reasonable expectation. It sure beats platonic virtual friendship and nostalgia. I have already contacted a place that does paternity tests. Hey there, it's your boy Foxy, back for more relationship stories. Update: am I wrong for not accepting my sister's relationship with my ex, despite her having cancer as a teenager? Original post: my 25 female father married my stepsister's 23 female mother when I was 4 and she was 3. We've lived together most of our lives and are a family. She and I were extremely close. She developed cancer when she was 14 and was sick for about 2 years. She's since made a full recovery. During that time, my parents became understandably overprotective. They also asked a lot of me. I quit my extracurriculars so I could get a job, and the money went towards her medical bills, also so I could drive her to appointments. I didn't go to dances, and any fun activities I did needed to include her. I did almost all of this willingly, the exception being having to quit my high school volleyball team. I did throw a bit of a tantrum about that, but was swiftly punished. And I think having one emotional breakdown was pretty chill given the circumstances. Anyhow, I go to college and meet my ex, we'll call him Ben, when I was a junior. We fall in love blah blah blah. He and I move in together when we graduate, so we've been living together for about 3 years. We were serious, until July when I walked into my bedroom and saw him banging my sister. I broke it off, tears were shed, he moved out, etc. My sister apologized at first, but then backed off. I thought she was giving me space, but last week she called and asked if we could meet up. She told me that she and Ben were in love and were just telling me as a courtesy before they started posting photos online. Distraught, I left her in the restaurant by herself and did not pay my portion of the bill. She later Venmo'd me asking for the money. She told my parents, who then called me to their house, telling me how disappointed in me they are for not supporting my sister's relationship with Ben. They brought up the fact that because she had cancer as a teenager, she never learned proper social etiquette and has a hard time meeting people. I don't buy this, in part because I've seen her socialize just fine, and since we spent a good chunk of the time she was sick together, that would also mean that I should have bad social skills as well by that logic. They then told me that if I don't accept my sister and Ben's relationship, they may have to go no contact with me. I reminded them that I'm also their daughter, and they should understand my point of view, but they are adamant that this is about me being jealous of her. For the record, I'm not jealous of her. I'm not upset that Ben picked her over me. I'm sad about the end of the relationship and do feel betrayed, but Lord knows that I don't want to be with a cheater. What I'm upset about is the fact that my sister chose Ben over me, that she slept with Ben knowing he and I were in a long-term committed relationship, and continues to be with him knowing how much it hurts me. Now no one in my immediate family is talking to me, and I'm getting messages from aunts and uncles and cousins telling me that I'm the idiot and a selfish witch. Now for the top comments before reading the updates. Not the idiot. Your parents are enablers. Cancer as a teen did not shrink wrap her and isolate her from the entirety of human mores and values forever and ever. Amen. From what you describe, it sounds disturbingly like you have been deemed the cannon fodder of the family. Take some time for yourself and put them on the back burner. Is it just cancer, or any potentially life-threatening disease that gives an exemption? I really need to know because I might have behaved unnecessarily for many years. Not the idiot. I could have died when I was 8 and spent a week in a hospital on IV antibiotics. I'm not dead because my mom mentioned that I had chills with my fever, which are apparently normal for adults but only occur with children if they are in pretty bad shape. I had a fever of over 104 by the time they got me to the hospital. While I certainly wouldn't compare that to having cancer, I was sick for a whole week. I think I was out longer when I had chickenpox. But yeah, this is baffling. Cancer survivor doesn't equal cannot be held accountable for anything hurtful they do for the rest of their lives, especially when it was almost a third of her life ago, and she's an adult now. I'm guessing this sub is skewed, but a whole lot of people seem to not know that sleeping with partners of siblings and friends is a no-no. Unless you clear it with them first, if, they've been broken up for several years and it was mostly amicable. Not wrong. I had cancer as a teenager. I've managed to not sleep with either of my siblings' partners, weirdly enough. Maybe you were on a different treatment plan. God, you're right, it'll be the socialized healthcare stopping me from living this timeline. I really am very sorry that your entire family are terrible. You are handling this with the grace that few could manage. Oh, don't you worry. I'm totally falling apart right now. I just have a dark sense of humor and no choice but to keep going with my life. Edit. I've been given a lot of food for thought. To be honest, while I've had moments where I've been resentful or upset about my teenage years, I've always thought that I did the right thing for my sister and for my family. And that time wasn't all miserable. I was very close to my sister, and we made things as fun as we could. But I didn't think of it as an abdication of my parents' responsibilities, or that they were doing wrong by me, which many of you pointed out. I definitely have a lot to think about. Thank you again for making me feel less crazy about all of this. Mini update. Sometimes you can only laugh. Just got off of the phone with my cousin who saw this post and said he could explain a few things. I asked him why he was on Reddit instead of school. He asked me why I was on Reddit instead of work, and I said touche. He told me that after my conversation with my mom, she went to his house and talked to my aunt. And here's the deal. Turns out my sister is not only in a relationship with Ben, but 4 months pregnant, which means she and Ben were banging for longer than I had even guessed. Apparently, my parents are so adamant that I forgive her because I'm already ruining their experience of their first grandchild. That's right, I'm less important than my stepmom posting ultrasounds to Facebook. This is where we're at. Anyhow, I called out of work sick the rest of the day, and I'm going to drink a lot of alcohol, and then start thinking about what the heck I'm going to do. Now for the first update. I was asked for an update and thus, here I am. 2 things to clarify before I update. 1. I didn't have a horrible childhood. The favoritism started when my sister was diagnosed. I moved out soon after and have been pretty independent since then. Not saying that how my parents treated me during those years were a-okay, but I wasn't Cinderella. 2. I did not drink myself into oblivion. I had 2 white wine spritzers, but I appreciate the concern from folks. Anyhow, the update. I got in touch with my sister and asked her to meet up again at a park, no bill involved. I asked her if she was pregnant, and she told me the truth. She said she wanted us to still be in each other's lives, and that she wanted me to be in her babies. A Redditor mentioned that she may ask me to be the godmother, and that person was correct. But as many of you pointed out, if I didn't cut her off, I'd just become her bank and daycare employee. So I told her I could no longer be in her life, and I left her crying on a park bench and felt like the crappiest person in the world. I emailed my parents and told them how betrayed I felt and that I'd be cutting off contact with them. To my stepmom's credit, she apologized. She explained that she never thought my sister would live to have kids and that she let her emotion over that get the better of her. Understandable. My dad said nothing, which is honestly what sucked the worst about all of this. Ben tried messaging me from a burner account for the first time since the breakup, but I blocked him without reading it. I didn't go nuclear and post the story to Facebook as some suggested, but I sent an email to the extended family members who I care about. I explained the situation and how I'd be distancing myself from my family. Some have made it an us versus them situation, and as much as I appreciate the support, feeling like I'm in some valiant battle just makes me more tired. So I haven't been talking to much of anyone in my family. I feel lonely and crappy, but I think I made the right decision. Anyhow, not the most exciting update in the world, but hopefully everyone knows that I'm not dead. I do really appreciate the support I've gotten. It made me smile during a really horrible time. And hey, if anyone in the greater Boston area wants an extra guest at Thanksgiving, let me know. And I left her crying on a park bench and felt like the crappiest person in the world. You aren't. You made the right decision. Sometimes people aren't good to be in your life, and you have to do things even if they are hard. Keep trying to live your best life. Yeah, the sister really did this to herself. It's mind-boggling to think that you can do something so cruel to someone and expect them to just brush it off with no consequence. I'm glad OP is creating some distance here. There's no way the family wouldn't continue taking advantage of her. I feel so sorry for OP, considering her dad has shown his true favoritism and now basically knows that she has lost her parents' support. I hope she gets through this and finds people that truly support her. They might come around once the consequences of their actions sets in now. Lots of people will take advantage of you as long as they think they can get away with it. I'd still recommend OP taking some time away for now, even if he apologizes though. I'm sorry things turned out this way and that you aren't a priority to your parents. But seriously, does she not realize that? Hey, you and Ben were still sleeping together during those months, and he could have just been stringing her along. B. Has she never been in a relationship? How would she feel if you had done that to her? C. She can always wonder now if Ben is cheating on her with someone else, but it would be karma. Ultimately, I hope your parents realize that you are just as important as she is, and their behavior is pretty horrible. Good luck. A. According to her, neither wanted to hurt me by telling me, which, though. B. She's had a few boyfriends, but they've only lasted a month or two. C. For her sake, I hope he doesn't. D. My stepmom told me that they'll welcome me back with open arms when I choose to come back. I'm just not sure that I'll come back. They won't be giving up on my sister. That's the fun part of giving up on them. You don't have to care anymore. You don't have to feel hurt or play games. You get to just be. That's what you will start to feel when this all normalizes. Just give it time. Find a new hobby or dust an old one off. Make something of your complete own that none of them were invited or included in. That will be your place of solitude, the rock that you set up shop on. Second update. Hi, some people were interested in an update, so. 1. I am spending Thanksgiving with a friend and her family, so I won't be alone. Thanks to everyone who offered to host me, it was so sweet. 2. I'm still not in touch with my family, but I know that Ben and my sister are having problems. I know this because he showed up at my place and cried for 3 hours. 3. I'm going to go to New Mexico in April. Planning is underway. Happy Thanksgiving to those who celebrate. Now for the third update. I think my old ex sabotaged my relationship with my new ex 27 male. To make a long story short, my 26 female breakup last summer with ex number 1 26 male was volcanic. He's now expecting a baby with my stepsister within the next 6 weeks or so. Since I found out about the pregnancy, he's tried to get in touch with me 6 times through email, text, burner accounts, has tried to get mutual friends to talk to me for him, and showed up to my place once. The latter was the only time I humored him. He told me he was sorry, that he loves me, he doesn't want to be with my stepsister, and wants to get back together with me. I told him tough luck, he made his bed and now he's got to lay in it, with her. I haven't dated much since July because of my life's implosion. But in November a friend from college messaged me out of the blue. We hadn't talked in a long time. He 27 male, referred to as ex number 2 for the rest of the post, and ex number 1 were good friends, but had a falling out over something fantasy football related the year after we graduated, and I stopped talking to him out of solidarity, or whatever. Anyhow, we go on a date. We click. We go on a few more dates. We become exclusive in early December. I was feeling really hopeful about this until this morning. I was supposed to meet ex number 2 at a New Year's party last night. He got there before I left the house and texted me saying that ex number 1 was at the party and asked whether I still wanted to come. I declined and went to another friend's house and have a pretty good time. I tried calling ex number 2 at midnight but he didn't pick up. I didn't think much about it. Anyhow, I go to bed late, and when I wake up this morning, I have a message from ex number 2 saying we're done. I couldn't even respond because he'd blocked me everywhere. I talked to a friend who was at the party the exes were at last night, and he said the two of them had spent a good chunk of time chatting with each other, but he didn't know what they were talking about. I'm not close with anyone else who was at the party, so I don't really have anyone else to ask. Like okay, it was a 2-month-old relationship. I'm sad but I'm not bereft. But the paranoid part of my mind is really concerned that ex number 1 said something that resulted in ex number 2 becoming ex number 2. Ex number 2 has made it abundantly apparent that he doesn't want to talk to me again, and I don't want to push that boundary. But I'm so confused. I could contact ex number 1, but I get the feeling that will open a floodgate of drama. I could also try talking to other mutual friends to see if they've heard anything, but I also don't really want to spread this as a rumor if it wasn't true. I don't know. I'm at a loss. Any advice here? I'm spiraling thinking that my ex is going to try to ruin every relationship I have for the rest of my life. Deep breaths. Do nothing. You are right, any contact with ex number 1 will bring drama, so sit tight. If your ex number 1 interfered, the very worst thing you can do is overreact right now. Ex number 1 has been desperately trying to get your attention. Don't give in. Don't let ex number 1 know he's got you right where he wants you. Inevitably, you'll learn more about what happened in time. Let it be. As awful as this is, remember that a man who will believe your ex after a few minutes of conversation over spending 2 months with you, without even speaking to you, is not a man to waste many tears over. If what you think happened is what happened, then your ex number 2 is crappy judgment in people and not much spine. Thank you. I needed to hear this. It sucks to do nothing, but it's probably the right course of action. Unfortunately, I'm thinking that ex number 2 isn't the only person with crappy judgment in people, and that I need to figure some things out myself. There are 4 possibilities here. 1. Your exes rekindled their friendship at the party, and out of solidarity, ex number 2 agreed to dump and ghost you. He chose his boy over you. It sucks, but it is what it is in this case. They were friends first. 2. Ex number 1 said something disgusting and untrue to ex number 2, and instead of confronting you about it first, he went the dump, ghost route, in which case you've dodged a bullet. Who would want to be with someone who blindly takes an outsider's word about you? 3. Ex number 2 had some kind of substance or alcohol-induced mental breakdown, and in an out-of-body stupor, did what he did. I think it's pretty self-explanatory why no one would want to be with someone like this. 4. Ex number 1 told ex number 2 about the drama he's caused with you. Maybe cried to him about his love for you. Could have said some deranged stuff. Ex number 2 might have decided the drama and craziness is too much for him and went scorched earth. Sucks, but it has only been 2 months, and if he was really scared off, understandable, because he needs to do what's best for his mental well-being and maybe even safety. In any of these cases, you should leave it. We can speculate all day about what happened, but unless he breaks his silence over it, it's a waste of energy. Better to focus that on self-healing and staying far away from these cruddy people. Or ex number 1 stole ex number 2's phone and typed the message and blocked her. Now ex number 2 thinks she's ghosting him. To be honest, I wish it had been one of these. Turns out, he got wasted, hooked up with someone else, and blocked me so he wouldn't need to have an uncomfortable conversation. He knew that after everything that happened, cheating's a bit of a trigger for me. Ex number 1 is guilty of many things, but innocent here. I was being paranoid. Now for the 4th update. I'm beginning to think that there's something wrong with me. My last 2 partners have cheated on me. The first was a very serious relationship. We lived together, we talked about marriage and buying a house. He even took 2 pictures of us as kids and photoshopped them together to show what our kids might look like one day. The result was terrifying but hilarious, and I had it as the background of my phone for a month. I walked in on him sleeping with my stepsister. Now she's pregnant, due in the near future, and he's with her. I know he's not happy. I know he regrets what he did. I know that he loved me, and none of that stopped him from sleeping with my stepsister in our bed. I've spent so long now being upset at her, and writing him off as just a bad decision that I wasted time on. But now I find myself mourning what we had. My stepsister and I grew up together and have loved each other most of our lives. So it felt like that was the betrayal. But he and I chose each other. Out of all the people on the earth, we looked each other in the eyes, committed to each other, and made the promise to stay faithful. And he lied, and he lied, and he lied, and he lied. And he let me go on loving him while he lied. And then a few months ago another guy comes into my life, and for the first time in ages I felt hopeful. I thought to myself that maybe I could actually move on and live my life. I wasn't in love with him, but he was the kind of man I thought I could fall in love with. We were exclusive for about a month. Before we made the decision to be exclusive, I told him everything that had happened with my first ex, and told him that I could never be with another cheater. I wake up on New Year's Day to a text saying we're done. When I tried getting in touch, I found out he'd blocked me everywhere. Turns out, he met someone at a New Year's party and hooked up with her. Instead of telling me, he just blocked me everywhere and sent a lackey to message me a few weeks later with the real story and a half-baked apology. I want to be angry, and maybe a part of me is, but as I'm sitting here, I'm just thinking, what if it's me? What if I'm just not lovable? What if it's never going to happen for me? The thing is, I've been a pretty confident person. I went through BS as a kid, but I got through it and grew stronger. I'm pretty good looking, though I've admittedly put on a little weight in the past couple weeks. I've been told that I'm fun, I hold down a good job and make decent money. I also live my life according to my values. I've always put my family and partner first because that's just how I believed it should be done, and I thought that I would be prioritized in turn. I've lost most of my family because they'd rather have my stepsister's baby in their life than me. My friends have been fair weather for the most part, and I know that I'm a laughingstock in my friend group, as much as they pretend to pity me to my face. I feel the little spark I've always had fading. I don't chime in on conversations anymore. I've stopped putting on cute clothes when I go out. I don't plan anything, so I don't have anything to be disappointed about. Soon I'll be the same age as my mom was when she died. I never knew her, but I've always loved her, thinking of her watching over me. I don't remember the funeral, but it was one of those funerals where there wasn't a dry eye in the house. She lit up a room, people tell me. She was a good woman. In my worst moments, I wonder what it would be like if I died right now. Would anyone cry? Would anyone care? Would anyone even come? Anyhow, sorry for writing a novella. Just not sure what to do anymore and who to talk to. If you read all this, thank you. It is not you. These people didn't cheat because of you. They didn't cheat because they thought less of you or that you were unlovable. No, they cheated because they are low character, lying, cheating, self-centered snakes. Those adjectives say nothing about you, so stop thinking that way. Victims of infidelity want reasons for why people cheat on them. It turns out to be quite simple. There is something basically wrong with the person who committed the infidelity. It's never you, it's always them. Thank you, I appreciate it. Sorry that you have gone through all of this. You just happened to go out with a couple of a-holes. Who hasn't? Like you said about some of the other things in your life. It made you stronger, and this will also. Don't change or give up on your values. You will find the person for you, and it will be worth it. As for your stepsister, keep in mind she is with a cheater, and one day he will most likely cheat on her, and she will be raising a kid with a cheater for a father. Stay positive that things will work out. You have a lot going for you, and you should always remember that. Fifth update. Hello folks. I thought that things on the internet died after a couple days, so color me surprised when I still get requests for updates on the regular. Long story short, I don't have much to update. I didn't end up going to New Mexico because I conveniently got COVID the week before I was supposed to go. The baby was had, but I have had no contact with the baby or their parents. I've done a pretty good job of insulating myself from news about them and the rest of my family. My life is pretty much the same as it was. So, sorry to the folks who are hoping I have some kind of happy ending to slap onto all of this. Things are improving just because time barrels on, and you can grow numb to most anything given enough time and distance. But I have had no grand revelations, have not met the love of my life, nor had elaborate revenge on those who have wronged me. I am going to Europe for the first time in October though, so that's exciting. I will say this, while I appreciate the solidarity and sometimes colorful language used to describe my sister and Ben in my DMs, I wholeheartedly ask everyone reading this not to waste their energy on hating them. They're now parents to a newborn, and regardless of the things they've done in the past, I hope that they can come together as a happy family and raise their child in a loving, healthy home. Hating them doesn't do anything for anyone, including ourselves, in the long run. Anyhow, that's the non-update update. I promise that if I meet the love of my life at the top of the Eiffel Tower, or more likely stuffing my face with waffles in Bruges, I will post another update. Until then, you can assume that I am living, trying my best, and am very appreciative of all of the people out there in the world who have read this saga and reached out with support, even if I have not had the energy to respond to everyone. Now for the last update as of October 17, 2022. Hi, just wanted to give a more recent, less depressing update. I am currently in my hotel room in Paris, eating a creme brulee in bed, reading a romance novel, and about to go to sleep early. All is well.